After such an extensive period of care, the spirit soil within the spirit medicine garden had already completed the initial conversion process. And thanks to the array that Han Li had set up earlier, the world's origin qi in the garden was far more abundant than before. Han Li was very pleased with the setup here, and he instructed the giant ape puppets to split the spirit medicines up into different categories before replanting them. After that, he also planted many of the spirit medicines that he had previously sourced into different areas of the garden. In the innermost section of the garden, Han Li planted that brownish yellow spirit tree root that he had obtained from the infernal frost immortal manor, then pulled out his heaven-controlling vial before pouring a drop of green spirit liquid onto it. As the spirit liquid dripped onto the tree root, it was immediately absorbed amid a flash of green light and disappeared out of sight. Han Li remained on the spot to observe the tree root for a moment, but didn't notice any special changes taking place, so he turned his attention to the other spirit medicines in the garden. Sometime later, he realized that he had collected so many spirit medicine seeds that the spirit medicine garden wasn't large enough to accommodate them all, so he could only summon another group of giant ape puppets to expand the garden. The expanded section of the spirit garden hadn't been nourished with spirit liquid and also contained very little spiritual qi, thereby making it unfit for planting high-grade spirit medicines, so Han Li could only stop what he was doing for now. He made his way over to a corner of this newly expanded section of the garden, then summoned clumps of dark purple mud that were enveloped within immortal spiritual power. The mud fell onto the ground, and Han Li began to slowly wave his hands through the air above it. A pair of large palm projections formed by immortal spiritual power emerged, and it spread out and smoothed out the dark purple mud so that it could fuse as one with the spirit garden. Before long, the expanded section of the spirit garden had been transformed into a muddy swamp, on the surface of which purple bubbles would occasionally burst to release waves of scorching heat. Han Li observed the purple mist that was beginning to take shape above the swamp, and the tiny arcs of lightning flashing within it, and he gave a pleased nod. Finally, he had somewhere to deposit the lightning aura soil that he had collected. After that, he replanted his Tao Warrior primary beans into the swampy soil. After doing all of that, Han Li made his way into the purple bamboo pavilion and stayed in there for a while. And as he emerged from the pavilion, a thought suddenly occurred to him as he flipped a hand over to produce a jade box. The box was open to reveal the roots of a silver bamboo tree, and Han Li planted it on a plot of vacant land in the bamboo forest. After that, he examined his new medicine garden once again like a diligent old farmer, then emerged from the flower branch domain to return to his secret chamber. After a brief moment of contemplation, Han Li departed from his secret chamber and made his way to Mo Guang's secret chamber before rousing him from his cultivation. Following such an extensive period of cultivation, Mo Guang had integrated himself very well with this gray immortal body, and his aura had stabilized at the pinnacle of the golden immortal stage. On top of that, through the use of a secret technique, he could reach the pinnacle of the early high zenith stage for a duration of around 45 minutes, so his powers were certainly nothing to be scoffed at. "Do you need something from me, fellow Taoist Han?" Mo Guang asked. "I found a good place for you to go into seclusion, fellow Taoist Mo Guang. With that new place set up, you won't have to be confined to this tiny space any longer," Han Li explained. "Oh? Does that mean I can leave the cave abode now?" Mo Guang asked with a perplexed expression. "No. The place I've arranged for you is inside a domain treasure with quite a large internal space for you to stay in," Han Li replied with a faint smile. "Looks like I'll have to congratulate you on securing such a precious treasure," Mo Guang said with a smile of his own. Han Li didn't waste any more time with words, and the silver flower design on his fingers flashed momentarily, following which a door of silver light took shape in front of Mo Guang, who rose to his feet to examine the door of light. "Come in. There's quite a bit of baleful qi left in this space, and you can use it during the course of your cultivation," Han Li said. Mo Guang didn't hesitate any longer as he stepped into the domain, and upon setting foot on the small bone path, he inspected his surroundings before remarking, "This is quite an interesting treasure to be able to allow both spiritual chi and baleful chi to coexist in one place." Right at this moment, Han Li's voice rang out from outside. "You can stay in that purple bamboo pavilion and cultivate in peace. I won't disturb you unless something important comes up." As soon as his voice trailed off, the door of silver light vanished, and Han Li returned to his own secret chamber. Half a month later, Han Li was standing in his secret chamber with his hands clasped behind his back, observing a silver pill cauldron on the ground with a contemplative look in his eyes. Moments later, he swept a sleeve through the air to release the essence fire raven, which circled around in midair, then transformed into a tiny fiery figure that landed on top of the cauldron's lid. An apologetic smile appeared on Han Li's face as he said, "Ever since I came to the Floating Cloud mountain range, I've had to constantly hide you, and I wasn't able to provide any spirit flames for you to devour either, so you must be terribly bored. Once I successfully refine a baleful quelling pill and resolve my baleful decay problem, we'll be able to leave this place." It wasn't clear if the fiery figure had understood Han Li or not, but upon seeing his apologetic expression, it jumped onto his shoulder and gave him a gentle pat, as if it were trying to console him. "I'm fine. I'm just a little unsure of whether the baleful quelling pill is actually going to work. In any case, let's refine it first," Han Li said as he turned his gaze to the fiery figure, and it immediately jumped down onto the pill cauldron from his shoulder, following which a layer of scorching silver flames emerged over its body as if it were declaring its readiness to commence the refinement process. A faint smile appeared on Han Li's face upon seeing this, and he reached out toward the pill cauldron, upon which the fiery figure immediately sprang up into the air. Its round cheeks bulged, and it blasted an enormous jet of flames far bigger than itself out of its mouth. The silver flames formed a wave that surged to the underside of the cauldron, and it didn't take long before the air temperature within the secret chamber began to rise drastically from the scorching heat. The spirit patterns on the silver pill cauldron lit up, as did the 8 runes engraved onto its surface, and it gradually turned from silver into a crimson color. At the same time, it was being lifted up into the air by the silver flames, and it hovered in mid-air while trembling incessantly. The fiery figure was rather restless, springing into the flame beneath the cauldron one moment, then flying up to sit atop the lid of the cauldron the next moment to stare at Han Li. Meanwhile, Han Li's attention remained focused solely on the cauldron and the silver flame, and once he determined the time was right, he made a beckoning motion with one hand, upon which several dozen ingredients, including the profound zoysia crystal, flew out of his storage bracelet. Those ingredients were all crushed into powder by a ball of azure light before being drawn into the cauldron, and shortly thereafter, Han Li began pouring a type of dark green spirit liquid into the mix as well. As the spirit liquid entered the cauldron, a layer of light green powder instantly appeared over the cauldron's internal surface, but it then quickly vanished as an indescribable smell began to spread through the secret chamber. As the smell began to gradually fade, Han Li flipped a hand over to produce 3 semi-transparent plants, each of which was around a foot tall. Their leaves were as translucent as ice crystals, and the veins inside them were clearly visible. These were none other than the bitter ornament herbs, and they were also crushed up by the ball of azure light before flying into the cauldron. After doing all of that, Han Li took a glance at the cauldron, then summoned a cushion before sitting down on it with his legs crossed. He took a glance at the ceiling of his secret chamber before suddenly joining the index and middle fingers of his right hand before thrusting them upward, and a beam of silver light instantly shot out of his fingertips before piercing into the ceiling up above. A faint thump rang out as a hole that was roughly as thick as an infant's arm was punched through the ceiling of the secret chamber, allowing a ray of moonlight to shine down from above. Immediately thereafter, Han Li removed the heaven-controlling vial from around his neck, then placed it under the moonlight. 3 years flew by in a flash. At this moment, There was a vast expanse of silver fire in the secret chamber that enveloped the entire pill cauldron, and its lid was trembling incessantly, looking as if it could fly off at any moment. However, the fiery figure was seated atop the lid of the cauldron while pressing down upon it with both hands, keeping it firmly in place. Meanwhile, Hanli was standing beside the cauldron, observing it with a solemn expression. Right at this moment, a cloud of black mist that resembled baleful chi seeped out of a small gap from under the lid of the cauldron before being incinerated into nothingness by the silver flames. "It's done," Hanli immediately declared, and the fiery figure instantly sprang into the air upon hearing this, while the silver flames around the cauldron surged back into its body. Without the support of the silver flames, the cauldron fell back onto the ground with a loud clang, while its lid flew off with a dull thump, and 3 balls of black light flew out from within before being drawn into Hanli's grasp.